Oh man, what are we doing here? I don't commentate on gameplay, that's not what I do. I leave that to the professionals. What I do is pub stomp noobs all day and then brag about my win rate. That's what I do. But sometimes I just have to get something off my chest. Sometimes I just want to take a step back and show the world, look at this. And this is the Hindenburg. This is a ship for going hard. This is a ship about getting in people's faces and showing them who exactly they are fucking with. You don't invisifire, you don't shoot from 20 kilometers. You get in there and you make people know they are in your territory now. Now let's get started with the captain build. For tier 1 skills, I'm running priority target. At a glance, this skill tells you if it is safe or if it's time to pucker up. This information improves your moment-to-moment decision making and is perfect for an aggressive playstyle such as the Hindenburg employs. Direction control for the additional aircraft gives you some AA support. As you can see, this is the only AA spec on this ship, so you need to be careful when you decide to use these planes. They also help spotting torps, of course. For tier 2 skills, I picked up Expert Marksman. This is a great skill for a ship like this where you do a lot of kiting. You're always switching sides of where your turrets are, going 180 back and forth. You need to track multiple targets. This skill is essential, really. And then I have Adrenaline Rush. Oh, Adrenaline Rush. I hope this skill doesn't get nerfed. I think this skill is a fantastic addition to this game. It rewards aggressive play, and it's just a great skill, especially in a Hindenburg where you're going to be taking damage constantly. For tier 3, ooh, did you notice? I'm running Survivability Expert. We'll get to that later. You got the standard Superintendent and the standard Demolition Expert. These skills are just normal picks for HE spamming high tier cruisers. You need the extra heal, you need the fire chance, but Survivability Expert? Honestly, this skill is a bit of a toss-up. You could swap this out for Vigilance if you want, for basics of survivability. Hell, you could put basic firing training on there for just a little bit of extra AA to help defend yourself. The idea that I picked it was that Hindenburg's taking damage the whole match, and over the course of a whole map and multiple heals, the skill is going to give you a few thousand extra HP, and it's not always fire that gets me. So basics of survivability is hit and miss, and it's never torps that get me. I mean, you have German Hydra, so I figure Survivability Expert just lets me survive some extra AP pen. Like I said, the skill's up in the air. And then on tier 4 we have Concealment Expert, and while I run Steering Gears Mod 3 instead of the Concealment module, Concealment Expert at least helps me not be spotted from 16 kilometers, which is nice. So what's the deal with this ship? Where does it stand in comparison to other tier 10 cruisers? Well, let's look at what it has going for it. To start, there's the insane shells per minute you put out with the main guns. With Steering Gears Mod 3, these guns sit on a hugely mobile, high HP frame that minimizes all citadel damage with its turtleback. Giving broadside to a BB is still sometimes a death sentence, but your bow and aft rarely eat citadels, and against cruisers, your turtleback provides excellent protection. So what do? How do you play? Well, you get in there and you spam HE. When you compare these guns to, say, a Zao, you don't have the same HE alpha strike the Zao does, and you certainly don't have the fire chance the Zao has, but you do have a much higher rate of fire. Not only that, but the ship's mobility and its durability allows it to constantly engage in places where Zao will not and cannot. So your HE spam potential is not simply improved over Zao because of your rate of fire. It is also improved by your ability to brawl with anything that comes your way. As you can see in the current match, I pushed up aggressively to the cap, and then I turned out once enemy ships started getting spotted. I keep shooting over my shoulder, moving slowly away from them, ducking and weaving under their fire. And this is really most of the gameplay that the Hindenburg is the best at. It's best in situations where you're able to kite away from the enemy compared to a Moskva, which is bow tanks. The mobility that this ship has lets it take fights where it wants and is not confined to certain situations. For instance, like I said, the Moskva is very confined. Once it gets engaged, it either has to back out or it has to stealth up if that's possible. Unlike the Hindenburg, which when in a kiting position is constantly moving away from its enemies. So if you're in a position or a situation where there's too many enemy ships, you just keep sailing away and the damage that you're going to take is minimal. You'll eventually get to a point to where they have to stop chasing you, or you can get behind some cover and flee, or maybe go undetected. Now in the current match, I've just been sailing away from Montana that was pushing up. I got some fires on him, and I got some fires on the New Orleans. Now I'm switching targets. I noticed these ships pushing through sea and a broadside Missouri. Now a lot of players would be using AP in this situation. The Missouri's giving me decent broadside, but from this range, AP pen is going to be hit and miss because of accuracy. And on a ship that's fresh like the Missouri is, that hasn't taken damage, you have a lot of modules to break, you have a superstructure that hasn't been saturated yet. HE is still going to do consistently good damage. These couple salvos I've done like 5,000 damage, as well as setting fires. So I got a fire on Missouri, and now I'm switching back. And the rudder shift and the priority target lets me just keep angled from everything constantly. I've taken damage here and there, and that's fine. They can boost my adrenaline rush as much as they want. But what about the AP? I mean, the Hindenburg has very strong AP, right? Well, yes and no. The AP on this ship is situational, and it needs to be respected as such, and you need to be reluctant to use it unless the situation explicitly calls for it. And you're about to see one of those situations. The AP requires a perfect broadside, okay? When you are given this situation, however, the AP DPM is insane. There's no other ship that comes close. And right now I'm getting that situation. I got a Montana full broadside at close range. I'm going to switch to AP to chunk them out over and over again. I'm actually switching back to HE because I know he repaired my fire and I want to get another fire set before I switch back to HE. In hindsight, I probably should have stuck to AP here. This is the situation where the Hindenburg AP is very strong. I did want to get another fire because he just repaired my fires, and getting multiple fires burning on a battleship depletes their HP so fast, but so does chunking them with AP, and you want to take advantage of these broadsides while they last. So he does have multiple fires on him now. I switch back to AP to continue the massive chunk damage. That wasn't a very good salvo. I think the Hindenburg could use a slight Sigma buff. There we go, that's better. But luckily I do have teammates here that played better than he did, and he was able to get taken out very quickly. Now from range though, your AP can still do work against cruisers, especially lower tier cruisers. Some higher tier cruisers, it's like a Moskva. I haven't ever been able to get like really good AP salvos on a long range Moskva. Even when they're perfectly broadside, it's still probably best to use HE. Of course, to get these good salvos, you need to aim well, better than me, I would hope. So at the moment, I'm just pushing back up toward the enemy. I got a little too pulled away dealing with that Montana, and that's fine. I was able to isolate a target, and now I can move back in and assume another kiting position. They have multiple battleships down here. I want to be able to start getting more fire set. And here's a situation where priority target's a great skill. I can see nobody shooting at me. I don't have anything to worry about. I know that that Missouri that just fired was not aiming at me, so I feel free to turn broadside and get all my guns on him, because in fact he was aiming at the Otago in front of me. Got a fire on the Iowa in the back. It's probably just going to instantly repair it, but that's okay, because if my allies get another fire on him or a flood, then that's going to tick. Now I may not look it because my health hasn't gotten down that low, but even right now with my health at like 3/4%, Adrenaline Rush is still providing me a reload boost. It's not much, it's like 5%, but over time this adds up. So even when I'm not really low, Adrenaline Rush is still improving my DPM, and that's why it's a great skill, especially for only 2 points. You know, you take a little bit of damage at the start of the match, and then for the whole rest of the match your DPM is increased, and this keeps adding up over and over. I'm pushing back into the ships coming from sea. I'm going for another aggressive kite. I'm rotating my guns around to the other side. This will allow me to kite away from the ships at sea, and it allows me to keep angled against B as well, because it looks like there's a couple battleships down there that might turn in. And a Shimakaze pops up, of course aim for him. He's close enough to be in my hydro range actually, so I instantly pop hydro to keep him spotted, and I slow down because it looks like he's about to smoke up. Yep. And I want to keep him in my hydro range, so I don't want to get too far away. Unfortunately though, I do creep a little bit too far, and he's able to dip into detection right beyond my hydro range. That's okay. I need to start moving again. The Iowa's getting too close. But in this situation, this is the Hindenburg's game right here. The Iowa's not going to be able to do much about me. He's going to put random AP pens into my aft, and I'm going to keep the DPM up and keep him on fire. And with Steering Gears Mod 3, you're able to respond to all incoming fire. You're able to address it reactionarily. Is that a word? Close enough. You're able to react to it as it happens, so you don't have to angle preemptively knowing there's a salvo about to come. You can almost wait for it to happen, and then but your rudder is still responsive enough to angle away from it before the shells land. And there are ships pushing through B, so I want to rotate my guns so that I can get on them too, because as an HE spamming cruiser, you don't want to just focus one target. Not unless it's your only option, of course. You want to get a fire going on something and then set fire to something else. As you can see, I saw the shells coming and I started turning out, and I was perfectly angled before they even got to me. Shimakaze popped back up. The rudder shift also helps getting your guns on target faster because you can rotate the ship with the guns. And here come the planes. I wasn't paying close enough attention. I wasn't able to select them quick enough for my own fighter aircraft to intercept them, but turning into them, I was able to stop 2 of them from arming. And then the Iowa burned to death, as Iowas should. I've only just got Wither, so I haven't been doing that much fire damage, which is surprising. Atago shows up. At this point, I'm at like half HP, which means my reload's right at 8 seconds. We cruise off now, boys. I am the most threatening target to this Atago, so I expected him to angle against me, but he's just giving me broadside. AP would have taken him down faster, but he is low, and my HE is going to do consistent damage, so it's really not much of an issue. Not an issue at all, actually. And now it's late game. My shell per minute is even higher. Now you just start spamming down what's left. North Carolina is not giving me enough broadside for me to use AP, so I'm just going to keep the HE going, get fires going. Hopefully he hasn't repaired, or maybe it'll get him to use his damage con and somebody else will start a fire. HE is still doing consistent damage. You know, it's not much per salvo, like 3,000 or 4,000, sometimes 5,000. But every 7.5 seconds, every 8 seconds, it adds up very quickly. Now he's giving broadside. Now is the time for that situational AP to shine. I know it's fun to pump AP salvos into stuff, huge AP salvos, but you have to have that self-control. Gave the North Carolina a little bit too much broadside, but that's okay. I got lucky. Sometimes you just got to get a little lucky. And as you see there, the AP, as soon as the North Carolina started angling against me, the AP became worthless. That's okay though, because you just pick the DPM right back up with HE. Let's see, what are we at? I'm at 396 shell hits, 26 fires set. That's absurd. It really is. You know, compared to other ships like the Zao and the Moskva, your individual salvos in the Hindenburg might not be as devastating as a Zao or a Moskva, but your ability to pump out these salvos over and over and over again, your ability to stay in the fight and shoot at multiple ships, this is where the power of the Hindenburg lies. Your 396 shell hits, and I still have a Hindenburg to shoot at. You know, this is like Minotaur territory, right? And unfortunately, this game was not a very fitting game to demonstrate adrenaline rush. I am low now, my DPM is great, but there are games where you get to late game and you're really low and you find yourself in a situation where you're brawling a battleship, you charge down a battleship, or you're fighting another cruiser and you're both low, and you get to a point where your reload rate's down to like 7 seconds, and it's just nuts, and it really gives you an edge. Otherwise, it's just fun to increase your reload or decrease your reload as the match goes on. It's rewarding for being a part of the fight. And that's match. We'll see. I am running the premium tier 10 camo, but 1,000,000 credits, 10,000 experience. This is not a first win. 431 target hits and 28 fire set. It's just insane. 3,200 base XP. And that was mainly just me fighting battleships, really. Surprisingly, I only did 66,000 fire damage. You have the potential to do way more than that. Most of my fires I set got instantly repaired, but that doesn't mean that they went wasted. You know, my teammates could have capitalized on that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed my noobish commentary and were able to find a little bit more respect for the Hindenburg. Have a good one. I'll see you around.